audience. My name is Dr. Burl Randolph Jr., the President and Chief Consultant of My Wingman LLC, a leadership and management consulting company in Davenport, Iowa, serving the Quad Cities and the nation. I'd like to welcome you to my first online Meet the Author Books seminar for my best-selling Inspired Not Retired, Leadership Lessons from Father to Son. Now, although the book has been out since December, our lives have changed. December 2019, our lives have changed dramatically since then. The purpose of the Meet the Author Book seminar is to replace the Meet the Author Book signings based on the COVID-19 pandemic. To give you a little background on Inspired Not Retired, the book was published and launched in December 2019, and I had great success. Although it was the beginning of winter, it was the holiday season, Inspired Not Retired was #1 in several categories for an entire month. After that, it remained #1 in different categories through January, and on January 29th, during my first Meet the Author book signing and the release of my Kindle edition, Inspired Not Retired hit #1 in the fatherhood category. I thought what I had was a great plan of book signings and meetings and engagements to promote the book throughout the year. However, around the March time frame, we all fell into the same boat. The COVID-19 pandemic put a screeching halt on everything we were doing. I had no more book signings and no more events, and I actually stopped promoting the book for that period of time so that people could recoup and figure out what was really going on. Although I had stopped really pushing the book for that period of time, I continued to have a few sales, and I continued to remain on Amazon's top bestseller list at least monthly. In April, I hit the #1 spot again for fatherhood for a period of time. In May of this year, something amazing happened. The book sales started to pick back up, and I'm presuming because people were tired of being cooped up, people needed something to do, people needed inspiration, and they reached out for Inspired Not Retired. And on my dad's birthday, which was May 21st, one of my clients actually bought the book. And so that was a great motivation for me to move forward and switch from book signings to book seminars. Now, you see behind me what I consider my book signing booth. So we're going to do 3 things today. First of all, I'm going to show you what a book signing might consist of if you were physically at one and what the booth may look like. That'll be a very short period of time. Next, we'll talk about the seminar part. The seminar being hard work. It won't kill you. The mind of an author. The mind of an author. Hard work is in chapter 8 of the book. Lastly, I'll answer a few questions that are often asked during book signings. So, as we move into the next iteration of book signings, I will not explain the setup. I'll just jump right into the seminar. However, if you wouldn't mind coming with me, I'll kind of step out of the way and show you what my booth looks like. Of course, the first thing you want to do when you're having a book signing is ask, how much space do I have? How much space do I have? Because that dictates what you can bring and what you can set up. And so, whether it's a 4-foot table, 6-foot table, 8-foot table. I'm a pretty big guy, so a 4-foot table is a little tight for me. 8-foot table just means more stuff. So the optimum solution is the 6-foot table, which is what you have right about here. You can't see all of it. I'm a little bit in the way, but that's okay. You have about a 6-foot table. You put on your table covering, you put on your runner, then you decide what posters do you want. I've never been able to have this set up before because I really haven't had this much space before. So I've got my Wingman poster in the middle. I have book signs on either side. And as you can see, on either side, I also have My Wingman signage. It's very, very important that people know exactly who you are and what you're doing. So now we've got that in place. So again, you need the most important thing, which is books. I have books on either end of the table, pointing in all directions so that no matter what direction you come from, you can see the book Inspired Not Retired. Because again, it is a book signing. So now we've got the table, we've got the signage, we've got the books. Of course,
you have to have important things like pens. Oftentimes an author will forget to bring pens and bring plenty of them because pens run out. You have bags. Your bags need to have, again, your business logo and the book logo. They need to be customized for exactly what you're doing. My oldest son said I need to always have a computer available and running my videos because that draws people in. Normally I would have this computer running, I'd have a speaker up front, wireless, and it would be just going through. I have business cards, which you probably can't see, on each side. One for my wingman and one for the book. And of course, no book signing is complete without telling people how much the book costs and how they can pay for it. So on this small placard, which I'll bring right up to you, a picture of the book, its cost, and how you can pay for it. Whether it's cash, credit, Cash App, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, or Discover. Last but not least for the table, that's important, the Inspired Not Retired sign-in sheet. You must have a sign-in sheet. This is one of the most important elements you can have. Why? First name, last name, email address, whether or not you will allow me to use your picture, our pictures in my promotions, and if you'd be interested in writing seminars. But more importantly, your name. It allows me to spell your name correctly when I sign your book. So, that's the setup for the most part. Again, I have no expectation of having any more Meet the Author book signings for the remainder of the year. Because during a Meet the Author book signing, in addition to the presentation, I'm talking loudly like I am now. People are asking me questions. I'm signing books. I'm shaking hands. I'm taking pictures. I'm doing all the things that we don't do anymore because of social distancing. So I had to come up with another way to help my readers, who I owe everything to stay engaged with me. So, as far as the seminar portion goes, each member of the seminar will receive a card. And it's a postcard, an Inspired Not Retired postcard. That's on one side. On the other side, the questions necessary to answer and to take notes and to fill out the book signing seminar. So, we'll get right to it. Now, if I didn't do it before, and I don't think I did, but sometimes age and the memory goes, I just want to thank all my readers, all my purchasers, all my reviewers for Inspired Not Retired. Why? Because without you, there are no authors. Without authors, there are no books, but without readers, there are no authors. And it doesn't matter how well a book is written, edited, published, promoted, or presented. If no one buys it and no one reviews it, it doesn't matter. So you are what matter most in this process because the book is already written. So with that, one of the main questions I'm asked is, how difficult is it to write a book? How difficult is it to write a book? In chapter 8, I refer to it quite a bit because it's about hard work. Hard work. It won't kill you. I'm sure most of us have heard that from our parents growing up. Most of us probably say it now to our kids. Hard work, it won't kill you. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the mind of an author. The mind of an author. And if you're going to be an author, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what type of writer I am? What type of writer am I? So, I'll take you through the 5 different writers. And these are from my perspective. You won't find them in a book anywhere. You won't find them in this book. But these are from my perspective, being a writer and being an author. And the first one is the unbridled writer. You sit down in front of the computer and you just start typing and typing and typing and typing. You don't care about punctuation, grammar, sentence structure, anything else. Whatever's in here needs to be on paper. Editors love the unbridled writer because they have no boundaries. They just write it. They get it on paper. Or maybe you're the editor writer. The editor writer is the person who writes one or two sentences and then has to edit it. There's nothing wrong with that per se. However, it takes a really long time to complete a project because you're constantly editing your work. You're constantly editing your work. Of course, then there's the reflective writer. They write 2 or 3 sentences, maybe a paragraph, maybe a chapter. They take a step back and then they reflect on what they've written. They do a little bit of editing, not much unbridledness, but they do a little bit of editing, and then they move on. The fourth writer is the measured writer. And that's the writer all of our 8th grade teachers liked the best because that's how we were taught to write. Pen, paper, outline, title, introduction, body, paragraphs, conclusion, chapters delineated, titles for the chapters, subtopics. Everything is done orderly. The measured writer, which is actually very difficult to do because most people don't think like that. And then there's the 5th category, which is all of the above. At some point in time, I've been the unbridled writer, the editor writer, the reflective writer, and the measured writer. Writing this book, I was all 4. So I was all of the above. But knowing what type of writer you are determines what type of author you will become. And so, a few questions. As a writer, can you be successful without hard work? If the answer is yes, please send an email to burl@mywingmanllc.com and let me know how, because I have not found a way to be a successful writer without hard work. My second question, is hard work a cornerstone of writing? I will tell you that it is. This isn't my first book. This is about my 4th book. I've helped write books, articles, peer-reviewed articles, of course my dissertation and my academic work. Writing is hard, and I believe that hard work is the cornerstone of successful writing. Number 3, is there an exemption from hard work in the writing process? And if the answer is yes, again, send me an email at burl@mywingmanllc.com and tell me what the exemption is, because I have not figured it out yet. Lastly, are you a writer, an author, or both? You're probably wondering, Dr. Burl, why are you making a distinction between writers and authors? Well, it's real simple. Writers write. Authors publish. Do you know how many people come up to me on a regular basis and tell me that they've written their life story or some story and they've been writing for years, but it's just sitting in their nightstand? That's a writer. That they are a bona fide writer, but you're not really an author per se until you become published. You make the transition from just writing to also being published. Next, writers can be published, but authors are purchased. So I'll give you an example. I wrote a letter to the editor for the Quad City Times regarding the George Floyd incident. The letter said, you stepped on our necks and we're mad as heck. Well, the Quad Cities Times published it. However, no one bought the Quad Cities Times newspaper to look at my article, except for me and my family. They bought the newspaper to gather information. So I was a writer, I was published, but I personally was not purchased. When you buy the book, you were purchasing. You were purchasing. So again, writers can be published, but authors are purchased. Next, writers have insight, authors have impact. Writers have insight, authors have impact. The reason I say this, I wrote that article. The only reason I knew the article was published is because someone contacted me on LinkedIn and said, Burl, I agree with everything you wrote in your article. It was great. That was impact. When my family read it, this was great. That was impact. However, what do we do with newspapers once we're done with them? We throw them away. We place them in recycle. We use them as fodder and kindling and different things. However, my book, hopefully you haven't thrown it away. Hopefully once you read it, you'll read it again. Likely, because of the way it was placed together, when you come into a problem that seems familiar, maybe you'll go back and read the book again to help you through that problem or issue. That's impact. Last but not least, writers have a voice, but authors have a platform. Writers have a voice, but authors have a platform. I always tell all my clients that to be the subject matter expert, you need to write. Because writing, whether you believe it or not, is one proof of our existence. The written word is proof of our existence. So, writers do have a voice. How many of you have journals? How many of you have diaries? How many of you have written, again, your life story or some other story? That's your voice. But see, now I have a platform because I can take this book, I can go through those 21 chapters, I can take those 21 values and talk on those values that helped make me successful. So, to determine what type of author you become, you need to figure out what type of writer you are. Is writing hard work? Yes, it is. It definitely is. Is there an exemption to it? I don't think there is. But whether you're unbridled, editor, measured, reflective, all of the above, writing is very, very hard work. And that's the mind of an author from Dr. Burl Randolph. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this as much as I have recording it. Now, I promised that I would answer a few questions. So, to get you in a better framework, one question that's often asked, how long did it take you to write the book? And I started off saying 12 months. I'd say 12 to 18 months because, as I said, I was an unbridled writer. I was just putting pen to paper. Then I was trying to be an editor so that I could carve out some of those editing expenses. But I had, at some point in time, to become a measured writer, to go through all those chapters, and I also had to be reflective to make certain that the facts made sense and they were aligned. So, how long did it take me? Again, 12 to 18 months. Okay? Why did I write the book? Well, it's real simple. I'm a leadership and management consultant because I'm a doctor of management and organizational leadership. I spent 32 years in the military leading people. So, there are some things about leadership that from the published works I didn't necessarily agree with. So the first reason I wrote the book was to dispel the myth that leadership is easy. And if you go to the back of the book, the first line says that leaders are developed over time and with great care. And I believe that. It does take time. It does take great care. However, who's spending the time and taking the care with you? The second reason is, to thine own self be true. I believe William Shakespeare said that. Also, to know the enemy, know thyself. The Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu said that in The Art of War. I teach all my clients, my coaching clients, that it's not necessarily your organization that's the problem. It may be you. So let's focus on you, then we can get to your organization. Third reason I wrote the book, to dispel the myth that retirement means the end. Retirement may be the beginning of the next chapter. So, I wanted to dispel the myths about leadership, dispel the myths about retirement, and to get leaders to focus inward versus just outward. So, my last question that I'm often asked, how did I come about writing it? Why did I write the book in the way that I did? And that's pretty simple as well. People aren't rushing out to buy leadership books. People aren't making movies about leadership. So it can be a pretty dull endeavor. So I thought I wanted to do three things. I wanted my book to be entertaining because from a marketing standpoint, if your interest is not captured within the first 10 to 15 minutes, next customer. So I wanted it to be entertaining. I also wanted the book to be relatable. I wanted people to read the book and see themselves in my place. Do you have compassion? Do you have faith? Do you believe in hard work? Can you be creative? Can you think critically? Can you stay engaged? Some of those, if not all of those 21 values, each of us may have, but in different measures. And so I wanted it to be relatable. The third component is I wanted it to be useful. I wanted the book to be useful. So when you read the book, each chapter is broken down into 3 sections. The insight, the inspiration, and the application. Most leadership books have some sort of insight, which I might call an epiphany, but not everybody knows what an epiphany is. But you can kind of understand an insight. And then you have an inspiration portion. It inspires you to do something. However, you don't necessarily know how the author applied the principles that they just talked about. And I wanted people to know how I applied the principles I just spoke about, how I used those principles to be successful in my Army career. So that's how I came about writing Inspired Not Retired. So again, don't want to take up a lot of your time. I know time is very important and we're still in a state of flux. However, I wanted to provide you a few of my views on hard work, it won't kill you, the mind of an author, and have my first Meet the Author book seminars. So, if you don't have the book yet, you can go to my website, which is mywingmanllc.com. Go to my author page and in the drop-down menu, tap on Book Details. Scroll down a bit. You can purchase the book from Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, BooksAmillions.com, IndieBooks.com, or if you're one of my War College colleagues, classmates, U.S. Army War College Foundation. If you're local, you can scroll down a bit more, tap on the My Wingman LLC logo, and buy the book directly from me. And it'll take you to the page and give you the instructions to buy the book from me. Or you can go buy the book at the book rack on Elmore Avenue in Davenport, or the Brood book at 15th and Harrison, also in Davenport. Still not convinced? Still want to look through the book before you buy it? Go to any of your local public libraries. Davenport, Bettendorf, Moline, East Moline, Eldridge, Rock Island. It's in the system. They bought some books. I also donated some books because I think it's important to provide for the community. So, if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Just send them to me at my email address. Or, if you like to type them out and do a little bit more, you can go to my Contact Us on my website at mywingmanllc.com. Again, I'm Dr. Burl Randolph, author, president, chief consultant, My Wingman LLC, author of the best-selling Inspired Not Retired, Leadership Lessons from Father to Son. This completes my first online Meet the Author book signing. Thank you so much. Stay safe and God bless.